Hello and welcome to Hetairoy channel. The Turks. One of the most diverse people live in a large area from Siberia to Balkans, and even some of them exist in North Africa and various points of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Today we will examine both their genetic and cultural identity, and also the states that are found by them and why they were everywhere on almost every corner on Earth. According to theories, the Turks were originated in forested regions of Siberia or around the Altai mountain range. Names from the sources shows that even if they didn't start to appear in Siberia, a part of them lived in Siberia. These names are Pai Futuchue, Turks covered themselves in white, Huang Tu Tuchue, yellow-headed Turks, or Muma Tuchue, meaning Turks with skis. In any case, they met and mixed with various people around them, and that created the earliest Turkic people. Before the national name of Turkey existed, the Turks were Eastern Asian people, but due to extreme expansion and migration of the Indo-European people into Central Asia, changed the genetics of these Proto-Turks. We can surely say that when the name of Turkey emerged, Turkic people were already half Western Eurasian and half Eastern Eurasian. We also have to say that Turks had an obsession to conquer the world because of their Tengris beliefs. If one god rules the sky, also one people had to rule the whole world fairly. So, Turks showed tolerance to newly conquered people. Raids and savagery was so common, but after these regions were conquered, they created symbiotic cultures, and also due to marriages with local people, and after Turks began to expand both west and east, they began to differ even more. Western Turkic people were more Western Eurasian than Eastern Turkics, but they still carried a large percentage of Eastern Eurasian DNA with them. If I take a closer look at these genetic samples from a Gökturk, a Han, and some samples from the modern Turkic people, they still carry Eastern Eurasian genes with them. Western Turkics with least East Eurasian, and Kazakhs, Tuva, and Uyghur with highest Eastern Eurasian DNA. Although they show some genetic similarities between them, there are large differences in percentages. So, what is the common thing between a Siberian and an Anatolian? The language. The language and culture were the protectors of this identity more than a common lineage. Yet we can still deny the genetic similarities among Turkics even now. Wherever they went, they also took their language with them. But generally, they cared more about new languages and cultures more than their own cultures and language. On many occasions, official languages were Persian or Arabic, even though there were enough people to keep the Turkic languages dominant in these states. And another reason for that is the Persian and Arabic were seen as a higher quality language than Turkic language. It was the language of the elite. And in Iran, for example, Turks adopted local culture and administrative structure and added their army capacity. Armies of Shah Ismail wasn't so different from the armies of Attila or Khagans of Gökturks. Ethnicity were mainly Turkic in the army, especially in the early times. Now, almost half of Iran is Turkic. Despite this, the Safavids are considered as a fully Iranian state. These people were the owners of many Turco-Persian states in Iran, but their ancestral rights are taken from them. These types of states in Iran, like Khwarezmians and Safavids, are the results of the Turco-Persian symbiotic culture and can be owned by both Iranians and Turkic people in Iran. But when it comes to Mamluks, we have less Turkic element in states. But despite this, historians called Egypt as Devlet el-Etrak, meaning the state of Turks, even before Anatolia called as Turkey. Here's another interesting example about the Safavids. Around the war between Selim Negrim of Ottomans and Shah Ismail of Safavids, the negotiation letters sent by the Ottomans were Persian, while Shah sent his letters in Turkish. So, Turkic history is a little bit more hard to identify and a little bit more complex than other people's history due to their eagerness to create mixed cultures wherever they went. Another example from history shows how newcomers and outsiders are welcomed. During the First Crusade, Atabek of Mosul replied to French envoys who came for the negotiations to Gurba with these words: "Are your masters ready to become a Turk? Then they can stay here. We will give them cities and horses, and by time you will ride horses like us, so we can improve our friendship." In other words, anyone could be a Turk. So, in conclusion, despite differences, the Turkey peoples are linked to each other by history, culture, and genetic similarities. In the future, we will talk about Turkic peoples more in detail. Thank you for watching our first video about the Turkic peoples. If you want to support us, you can subscribe to our channel.